Okay, I think an appropriate place to start would be the fact that Senna was originally a console player before they made the switch to PC. Now, I did a little bit of looking around, and I couldn't exactly find a super concrete date on kind of where that happened. So we'll just say at some point, Senna made the switch to PC. I think she very quickly rose to at least GM top 500 level, especially due to her mechanical ability, in that relatively short period of time, mainly playing Tracer and Widowmaker. But she plays other heroes as well. I mean, obviously she has clips of her playing McCree, Ashe, Soldier, and she typically plays on the EU rank ladder and is consistently and constantly called out for keying or aimbotting in her games. She was relatively quickly known as one of the cheaters on the rank ladder. I mean, it wasn't uncommon for you to get Senna in your game and then people to cry about them cheating, or, just general negativity towards the player in general. So not many people respected or believed Senna that she was legit due to her very fast improvement in her mechanical ability, because obviously she has very, very good aim, massively above average for the level she plays at. She uses Kovacs, I believe, that's what I found, which I'm personally very familiar with. I've over 3,000 hours on it. The thing with Senna's aim is it's typically very target switchy, which is not a super utilized skill in Overwatch, which is one of the reasons why I think a lot of people think she might be cheating, is because typically target switching looks a little bit different to click timing or tracking skills, though they are interchangeable in similar scenarios. Senna had some complicated relationships, especially with a person by the name of Dawn. Whether that's their real name or their alias, I'm not sure. I don't really know how to refer to Dawn either, because Dawn, when I was doing some research, Dawn was referred to as he multiple times, and then she, and then there were screenshots after being called she where they referred to he again. But the last record I found of a conversation with Dawn, they were referred to as a she, so I'm going to be referring to them as a she throughout this. I apologize if I'm wrong. Senna and Dawn dated for a while. As to how long, I'm actually unsure. I mean, there's not a lot of information to do with either of these players. They are mostly pretty inconspicuous. I mean, they tweet a lot, but it's typically just like general Overwatch clips or just, kind of useless information that I couldn't really use for this. But I will say it was long enough for them to travel to each other, or at least consider traveling. Whether they actually went to meet each other, I'm actually unaware. I couldn't find it, but I'll assume that they had met each other in real life before, because something you'll see later on. At some point between the months of June and August, I'm not really sure when, between there, I believe it's sometime in July, Dawn began talking to Senna about a cheat they were developing and planning on selling to a Korean reseller. There are 15 screenshots of the conversation that were had over Discord, and they were available due to a tweet longer that Senna had posted on July 26th, 2022. We're going to go over those screenshots, have a little look at them, and talk about a little bit of the conversation they were having and how they were talking to each other. So, Dawn says, I need it to be a native European account with higher than bronze border. If you don't trust me, just say that and we can go our separate ways. But if helping with something as small as this is going to be an issue, then I don't know if it's going to work out. Okay, so looking at this, it's looking like a conversation was had beforehand about obviously the cheat that Dawn will be mentioning later. But this is the first screenshot that was available on our tweet longer. So Dawn is clearly a pretty bad manipulator. I mean, in general, this is like a pretty standard way of trying to manipulate someone. It gives them the feeling of, you come across as helpless, asking for help, and the fact that they're not helping makes them a bad person. It's a pretty strange way. I mean, just in general, it's pretty a manipulative thing to say, to word things like this. So already we're getting quite a feel for how Dawn actually is. Though maybe this is just like a spur of the moment thing and they're being out of character for they usually are. But judging solely off of the screenshots right now, Dawn does not seem like to be a very great person. Okay, then in screenshot number 2, there's some text at the top. Gonna be an issue, then I'm gonna work it. I think that's the last screenshot part of the ending of it. And then Senna replies, what? 2 question marks. And then Don says, it's obvious you don't trust me. If that's the case, then whatever. Then Senna says, no, I do trust you. I just don't like having cheats on my PC and stuff, especially having to use it on my main account. Why are you instantly so blatant towards me? I don't know what she's meaning by blatant, but whatever. Maybe she's not a native English speaker. I'm not sure. And Don says, it's a private file that only I have access to, and I need help because I don't trust anyone else with this. You can delete it right after, I don't care, but I'm gonna pass this off to a Korean reseller and make good money. Then Senna says, do you understand why I'm not entirely sure about it in any way? And then Don replies, yeah, but I'm telling you there's no way anything can happen. Literally 0 chance. Okay. So already Don is, continuing their manipulation tactics of, it's gonna get me a lot of money, I need you to help me. Again, doing the thing where they appear helpless and in need so that they can try and guilt trip whoever they're talking to into assisting them with whatever they need. It's pretty standard manipulation, but I mean, typically, unless you're like insanely weak-minded, shit like this simply doesn't work. It's typically like a last resort thing for people who are mentally ill, but whatever. 3rd screenshot, Senna says, Don, it's nothing about you or that I don't trust you. I just don't want these things tested / used on my main. Okay, defend myself from cheating accusations for a reason, because I want to go pro and leave everything as it is. I know I can delete everything after, but just want everything to genuinely be safe, and so not tested on my main, like I put a ton of work into this stuff. It's a little difficult to know exactly what she's saying, but I mean, I get the premise, so it's not exactly a big deal. Typically with native English speakers, you come across in a more generalized way when you're talking about a situation, but typically if you're not an English speaker and you speak a more literal language, then you're typically going to be speaking to that situation and not a general overview. So you can see, I just don't want these things tested / used on my main. Now that could either be her not being an English native speaker and not understanding that it's already implied when you say, and not tested on my main, when you say, I don't want to do it, Because when you say, I don't want to test it on my main, it gives the impression that you don't want it on your main account, but you're okay with it somewhere else. Now, whether this is what Senna's saying or not, I mean, there's no way of knowing, but I'm going to give her benefit of the doubt and say she means that I don't want it in general and not just on her main. And then screenshot number 4. It needs to be on your main. I want to find out if the server recog is working with the ESP patterns I have. And Senna says, why exactly my main? Don's saying it needs to be on their main account to find out if the server recognition is working with the ESP patterns I have. I'm sorry, Don is just using buzzwords. This is all bullshit. There's absolutely no purpose for any of this. Unless you're ratting people and you're pulling their location, there'd be no need for server recognition unless you're like DDoSing servers. But I don't know why you would have a cheat for DDoSing servers. Maybe you're like server crashing, that'd be fine. But I don't know why they would mention ESP patterns with server recognition. Those are 2 completely different things. Your ESP pattern has nothing to do with server recognition. But whatever. The only reason I can think of them saying server recognition is because their cheat crashes the server. But saying it needs help with the ESP patterns to do with the server recognition doesn't make any sense, because ESP has nothing to do with the server. Although, I guess you could say it in the sense that it wants to pull the server's information to find the location of the enemies with ESP, so it can be put to your client. Maybe that's what they're trying to say, but in this wording, it doesn't make sense. So what I'm thinking is, Don just wants Senna to cheat on their main account, so Don can say, yo, look, I saw Senna cheating or whatever, because they want to get back at them because Senna did something. I'm not sure, but this is like pretty typical manipulation. It doesn't seem to be working on Senna though, which is pretty impressive. Screenshot 5. We're introduced to a new person here. We're someone called Mary. Now, I think you summed it up perfectly. Level has nothing to do with it. She's literally just trying to manipulate you. Okay, and then Senna replies with a screenshot of their conversation. I believe that's a conversation we've already went over, but it's too blurry to see. The pictures are actually quite low resolution and are a bit longer, so I'm unsure. I genuinely don't know what to say without getting agitated. Looking for advice. Okay, and then we go to screenshot 6. And then Don says, do you think this didn't take me a while to code and build, or I didn't put effort into it? 20 minutes to routine where you'd be 100% safe from bans. It just seems like you don't trust me here. Okay, now obviously this is very cut and dry. Super bad manipulation. Like, it's almost like they're not even trying. There's toddlers with better manipulation skills than Dawn here. So either Dawn has Dawn genuinely believes this is a good way to try and manipulate Senna, or I have no idea what they're doing. But like, the fact that Senna hasn't called him out for being manipulative yet is a little concerning. Maybe Senna trusts Dawn a lot and this is out of character for him, or her, I apologize. But I mean, I guess I'm not sure. Okay, and then screenshot 7. Then obviously the top part is the part of the last screenshot. And then Senna says, Dawn has zero to do with trust. There's a reason I'm so defensive about it, especially for my main account. I put so much effort into being at the place I am, and here I am being accused by everyone for cheating while being legit. These things I just rather not have on my main. And Dawn says, please, Senna, I need the money. Okay, a little bit to go over. Now, it's a little strange to be wording things like this. Especially for my main, again, gives the implications that she might be okay with it if it wasn't on her main account, which is a little fucked, but okay. And then these things I just rather not have on my main. Again, more implications that she's okay with it somewhere else. Whether that is true or not, I'm unsure. But either way, the way Senna comes across seems like she'd be more or less apprehensive about it if it was on a different account. I understand, but please, I really need help with this, and I get how it would feel, but I promise you that nothing will happen. I've tested on 40 different accounts as part of a trial run, and all of them are still alive to this day. The security is literally impossible for Blizzard to detect, because only I have used the file. And then Don says the patterns in place just need slight tweaking, and in order to do that I need someone I trust, and then in parentheses it says you, to use a silver border account and queue on EU region on the competitive servers. That's the last part of testing I need to do. Okay, Dawn is either the worst cheat developer on planet Earth and has absolutely zero understanding of how to troubleshoot their cheat, but this is the worst attempt at trying to make someone cheat on their main account in order to then expose them later for cheating. There's not a soul on this earth that would fall for this. I'm sorry, this is awful. This is really poor. Really, really poor. But whatever, sure, he's bullshitting a bunch of buzzwords and saying whatever, like trying to make them seem, you know, less guilty, I guess, or to make them seem more vulnerable to Senna, so Senna's more likely to take him up on his offer. Then Dawn says, yeah, this is important to me though, and there's just a lack of trust here, which, if it's the case, whatever, but I don't know. If you can't trust me in something like this, then why even bother? Then Senna says, Dawn has nothing to do with trust, please just understand what I'm trying to get over to you. Then Dawn says, I understand just fine, actually. So, I think this is where Dawn's starting to realize Senna's not pulling up with her bullshit, and that she is not so easy to manipulate as Dawn might have believed her to be, and has basically given up and is now giving her like the cold shoulder kind of treatment, where you kind of deprive the other person of like an outcome or resolution to the argument or situation in order for them to seek like a level of like rest from it. So you end up leaving things on like a cliffhanger, so it eats away at them for a little while, and then you would obviously return later and then continue trying to manipulate once they're a little bit more mentally broken. But I think, well, Senna obviously cracks at some point, because Senna does admit to cheating. Okay, and then Senna says, why are you pushing me so much on a topic that's quite sensitive to me? And then Dawn replies, because if something like this is an issue, then we should probably go our separate ways. I don't think I've ever asked you for something before, but whatever. Okay, again, Dawn is manipulating her by being like, again, showing the vulnerable side, but appearing helpless in order to seek validation from Senna, for Senna to then obviously help Dawn with whatever they're doing. Dawn is so clearly cut and dry trying to manipulate the fuck out of Senna, and Senna's kind of putting up with it, which is a little bit strange, but I guess people handle things differently, so it's not exactly a massive deal. I mean, either way, Senna does eventually cheat. She admits to having cheated too. Dawn continues to manipulate her. Eventually it works. Okay, we're going to screenshot 11. And then I believe this is Senna talking because they say Dawn at the end, but it says nothing to do with trust or anything, just something I put thousands of hours on and don't want stuff near it when I'm getting accused for while not doing it. Why did you remove me from your bio? Dawn. And then Senna says, hello, why are you ignoring me now? And Dawn, and then never mind, that's Senna again with a different profile picture. You seriously don't have to ignore me, like I love you, but this is kind of manipulative. So clearly, like I said earlier, Dawn has deprived Senna of an outcome or resolution to the argument or situation, and it's clearly eating away at Senna. So Senna is obviously replying and messaging Dawn a lot in order to try and reach that resolution to get it off her mind, but obviously Dawn isn't allowing it because he wants it to eat away at her, so she's easier to manipulate in the future. Pretty terrible. Okay, and then Senna says, I don't know anymore, I just feel betrayed, sends a screenshot of Dawn to Mary. Then Mary says, is that all she said? Senna says, I replied with, answer what I sent. She says, mid-match. Okay, so clearly Dawn's still doing the same thing, not giving her a resolution to the outcome. Screenshot 13. Dawn says, yes, it was, but this is something important and I need the money. Then Senna says, you really just put money over love while already being able to visit for real. And then Dawn says, Senna, what do you think I need the money for? Traveling isn't cheap. Senna says, first of all, communicate that better. Second of all, respect boundaries. And then Dawn says, sure, I respect your boundary, but you removed me from your bio too, so I guess we're done for real this time. So, and then Senna says, Dawn, take a small guess why I did that after these 5 to 6 hours non-stop walking in circles when you were the first to do it and saying it's done over thing that crossed my line. Oh, is the thing that crossed my line. Okay, sorry. Okay. Now, I'm not one to talk about anyone's relationship here, but I'm just gonna be honest. This did not seem very healthy. I listen, not to be like a counselor. This seems like a super unhealthy. Like people, this is fucked. But whatever. I mean, it's not my relationship, so I don't care. Anyway, Dawn continues their weird like manipulation thing, showing their insecurities by saying you removed me from your bio too, meaning Dawn is clearly insecure over Senna's like or love towards them, which I mean I guess is like relatively understandable. But so I guess we're done for real this time, obviously bringing up the fact that they're done multiple times because they need legitimate confirmation because they don't actually want to end it, so they keep looking for validation in terms of is it actually done, is it done, constantly, so they can get a definite concrete answer, and then therefore they don't have to make the choice of whether it's over or not. So clearly Dawn is very insecure, but I mean I guess it is what it is. And then screenshot 14, I believe that's Senna. Yeah, that is, because she has the same profile picture. She says, I just need time to think about things right now. Dawn says, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for not respecting your boundaries and that I love you. Then Senna says, do you realize how much it hurt with some of the things you said? Then Dawn says, I realize and I'm so sorry. I was acting stupid because I was really stressed and frustrated, but I truly love you, sorry. Senna, I'm so sorry. Again, like, very manipulative, I guess. It goes from hard manipulating Senna to then obviously giving her no resolution of outcome, and then we obviously get to the point where we enter like a kind of honeymoon phase after the argument where things feel very nice. Obviously people are getting they're getting filled with dopamine now that the argument's finally over and they can be happy again. So obviously their vulnerabilities are coming out, and therefore they were more likely to be closer to each other. Therefore, Dawn is getting exactly what they want because it's easier to manipulate someone the closer you are to them. Final screenshot 15. Then Senna says, do you know what you did wrong? And then Dawn says, yeah, I pushed your boundaries and I was manipulative. I'm very sorry, Senna. I love you so much. I think Dawn is, in terms of manipulation, probably the worst, or at least one of the worst human beings on planet Earth to have ever tried this skill. Because this was probably the worst display of manipulation I've ever seen. At least at some point it does work, because at some point Senna does admit to cheating. She obviously does eventually succumb to Dawn's manipulation, which is, you know, I guess it is what it is. Okay, alright, so after the first cheat police video I did on Senna, obviously the one we're playing on Volskaya, it's her and two friends. It's the Hansel player, the Ash player. Now, Senna left some comments on the video, which I thought were actually pretty funny. So, if you remember back to the old video, Senna claims, brother, all 3 of us ain't cheating, no need to post this. Fair enough, you're, you know, free speech or whatever, say whatever you want, I don't care. I'm legit off-rolling with a wrist injury on Zen, chilling a diamond, and for whatever reason y'all are so sure I was cheating. Okay, first of all, this is awfully defensive. I said that you weren't cheating in that video. I said you're more likely to be cheating than not, but I didn't explicitly say that you were for definite cheating. So the defensiveness is a little weird, but sure, I guess. Okay, now our Ashe player, remember the player that we first watched? The fucking awful player. Really bad. That player is apparently an ex-4900 player. Okay, now listen, I don't know if he is or not, but whatever happened between then of them being 4900 and now must have been pretty substantial. Because I don't know how you go from being 4900 to being like DPS gapped in diamond, but we move. Hanzo is someone who plays on 3205 because of a health issue. And for the right reason, he uses a very high sense and can control it. I also use a very high sense. I use 8cm 360. That's what I play on. I have a video of me playing on it. That's what I use. 8cm 360. Now, I'm not actually sure what the 360 range of 3205 is, but we can give it a look. So, you know what he plays? The exact same as me. He plays the same sensitivity as me. Roundabout. I mean, basically exactly. 8.659, that's what I play. Unbelievable. He plays basically on the exact same sensitivity as me. Now compare my flicking and turning and everything to his flicking and turning and everything. He is substantially slower than me. Now, I don't know why that would be the case. Maybe this is the sensitivity he plays on. If it is, good for him. But I also play on this sensitivity, bro. I have a video from like 2 years ago of me playing on this exact same sensitivity in terms of centimeters per 360. So his excuse of, oh, he just looks weird because he has a fast sensitivity, bro. I have the exact same sense. I don't look funky like that. And you can check my Kovacs video, check my Counter-Strike stuff. My aim is substantially better than this Hanzo's, and I've way more control, and I'm not so spazzy. And maybe that's down to his health condition. I don't know what the fuck that even means. But like maybe he's got Parkinson's or something. I don't actually know. And then Esther says, "Oh, of course it's you, the known cheater." I think that's Senna's friend. Actually, I don't think that is Senna's friend trying to be funny or whatever. Then Senna obviously replies to them, and I say that, you know, I was doing my research and I was gonna make a video about it because I thought it was an interesting topic. Then she replies to the comment again and says, "There's no research needed." With a little question mark face. Okay. If you think so, then obviously good for you, I guess. And then I asked her what happened with the Zen clip. I'll put it on screen. You'll know what I'm talking about. The Zen clip is obviously the one at the end where there's like very weird acceleration, deceleration going on. But so the last Zen clip basically is just the 3 snaps that I was talking about in the Cheat Police video, where it's like snap and then snap again like a couple frames after, and then it holds it for ages until her right click's done, and then as soon as she presses left click, it accelerates super fast to her target, and then as it gets about halfway to 3/4 of there, it gradually decelerates into exactly where the soldier would be. Had she, you know, pressed left click, he would have moved into his orb. Okay? Coincidental? Sure. If you want to call it that, then sure, we can call it that. But a little weird. So I asked her about it, and she says, FPS drops. Okay. Sure, everyone gets FPS drops. So I went over her other videos. I went through every single video she's ever made on her channel, at least the ones that are public, and very rarely are there FPS drops. Sometimes she goes from like 140 or like 150 frames to 140, but 10 frame, and it normally happens over the course of like a few seconds. I'm sorry, you dropping 10 frames will not cause a disparity this enormous. I mean, that looked funky as shit, and I'm sure you know that looked weird. I refuse to believe you genuinely look at that and think that looks normal. That's pretty weird. Anyway, That's all Senna was talking about. So there's 3 clips specifically that I want to go over in the video. And actually, no, there's 4 clips. There is obviously the Ana one at the very end, where she right-clicks the Ana. The Zen one, the soldier one at the end, where he or she right-clicks the soldier. There's one where he's right-clicking me while I'm on Zen that looks really weird. And the Hanzo one again. Now, listen, this is what I see. Maybe this is wrong, but this looks weird to me. My problem is not that they are good at Zen. Listen, I'll be honest, even if Senna is not cheating, right? Even if she's not cheating, she's still a good player. Mechanically, she is still good. She's still a good Overwatch player. And she's clearly good mechanically, regardless of the fact that she might be cheating. But that's not what my problem is. My problem with the Zen clip is that typically, when you're tracking with Zen's right click, you track smoothly, right? That seems normal to do. Just, you know, see the direction the person is moving, and then gradually, smoothly track your mouse forward in front of them. The same speed they are moving behind your crosshair, because you're projecting here. That sounds normal, right? Senna doesn't do that. For some reason, Senna has this extremely weird way of tracking, where instead of smoothly moving her hand, she, like, so when she lets go of right click, it obviously she'll fire 5 orbs if it's fully charged. And instead of just, like, obviously smoothly tracking like I said, when the first orb is fired, okay, her mouse basically doesn't move. Then on the second orb, instead of her tracking forward, she micro flicks, like doing the same acceleration deceleration thing, micro flicks in front of them. Then the second orb shoots, and then obviously does the same thing, micro flick to the left or whatever direction they're moving. So they micro flick to the left, doing the same thing they were doing with the acceleration deceleration. And it's not normal at all. Like, slow down any other clip of someone tracking ever that's normal, even in the replay viewer, so you can't say, oh, this is a replay thing. This is not a replay thing. This is what happens on our monitor, bro. The same shit happens in her videos. She does the same weird, tracky, bouncy, jolty, kind of just weird in general tracking style, where she doesn't track. She just does a million micro adjustments, and it looks super janky. So look, then she flicks, and then she flicks, and then she flicks, and then she flicks. Okay, bro, like I don't know if she's shaking or not, but it's not normal. It's absolutely not normal. Now, is it cheating? I mean, it's so minor. Like, it's such an unbelievably minor thing. Maybe her hands are shaking. Maybe she drank a bunch of caffeine. I don't know. Either way, it looks weird. Whether that makes her cheating or not, it's basically nil. It doesn't even matter, because there's so many things this can be explained to be other than cheating, that it basically wouldn't make sense to say that she is cheating for doing this. It just looks really weird to me, is all. I want to go look at the one where she's killing the Ana. Obviously, my problem with this clip is, so you'll see the Ana tracking, or you'll see the Zen tracking the Ana, very human. It's super human. So the Ana is kind of AD strafing, sometimes pressing W and S, while they're scope shotting and healing their teammates in front of them, right? And obviously the Zen is behind them, holding right click and charging it. And while they're doing this, normal, super normal tracking. Like, there's no weird acceleration, there's no weird deceleration, it's just normal tracking. Oh, the Ana moved, I will move my mouse to where they moved. Oh, they moved out of where my crosshair now is, I'll move it back. And it's not super precise, it's not on them all the time. If anything, it's actually off them a lot of the time. But in general, this is pretty good tracking. My gripe with this clip is the very last micro adjustment. It's like, where was this beforehand? So, it's the same, she's aiming, and then as soon as she's ready to fire her right click, it's the weird accelerate onto the head to an instantaneous stop, and then the light micro tracking as the Ana's still moving perfectly on them. Then as soon as she lets go of right click, she stops tracking altogether, and then lets the orbs hit them and kill them. That is not a normal way to track someone, like, at all. At all. Bro, I've been studying aim theory for like a decade. You are not doing this when you track people. This is like such a waste of time. What is the purpose of doing this? The first thing you do is you're tracking the Ana, then she moves and you track across back to in the direction she moved, then she moves again and then you track again and then she moves and very normal. The last one is just super weird. It's the acceleration to a sudden stop, then it's the micro tracking, and then it's another instant stop, and then she lets go right click. Like, whether you believe that to look weird or not is obviously up to you. To me, it looks super weird. Like, I don't understand why you would choose to aim like this. It really is super weird. I don't like it at all. And then I want to go over the soldier clip again, because I was super light on her last time for this. Okay, let me explain why the soldier clip looks weird to me, okay? An aimbot will update their crosshair position as the... So, let's say, for example, she is cheating, okay? Let's say she is aimbotting for a fact. And I'm going to explain why, if she were to be aimbotting, it would make most sense for this to happen, okay? So her aimbot, or aim assist, I mean, typically it's going to be aimbot because it's actually physically aiming for her and not helping her. Okay, so basically it will update her crosshair position as the right click comes out. So as she's right clicking, every orb, it'll update her crosshair's position to obviously move in front of the target, okay? So instead of smooth tracking in front of them, you get a jolty mess due to the speed of the soldiers moving, right? And it's far easier to code an aimbot to do this than it is to be constantly calculating the position of the enemy, their direction of travel, their speed, as well as your own player model's movement, your speed, the speed of the projectiles being fired. It takes far less processing power to just update each recalculation as the shots are being fired instead of a constant stream of information. The last snap is the software being done with her right clicks. So she's fired all of her right clicks, and so there's no more target to track because she doesn't have any more projectiles to shoot. Right? Then, what's going to happen is as she presses left click, it's obviously going to update her crosshair position based on how far the soldier has moved from the last time she shot at him. Okay? So it finds the soldier, it pulls the crosshair to in front of them, okay, this is hard to explain. Aimbots have a thing called smoothing, and what smoothing does is obviously the higher the number, the smoother your aimbot's going to look. Let's say on 0, you insta-snap in one frame, and on like 1,000, your crosshair basically doesn't even move when you press your aim key, okay? Smoothing basically means how harsh you want your aimbot to work. So the smoother it is, the more acceleration to deceleration you're going to see, the more swaying motions or shaky motions in the aimbot. They try and simulate being humanized, okay? Typically an aimbot might call this a humanized setting, others might just call it smoothing, maybe you get a bar that you can drag or just a number you can set. Typically things like that. Normally you would have, like on higher quality cheats, you would have a smoothing bar and a humanized setting. But whether that's happening here, I mean, typically there'd be more shakiness and actual human behavior going on if it were to be humanized. So I'd be willing to say her cheat, if she is cheating, is of a lower quality than some others due to it being relatively easy to see in some circumstances. But anyway, what happens is when she presses left click after she's done with her right clicks, she's expected her software to continue tracking forward, obviously continue tracking the soldier forward so that she can left click him. But because her right click is out of projectiles and she can't fire at him anymore because she's stun locked in the animation of her, obviously exiting the right clicks, and she needs to wait a little bit before she can left click again. So when she does left click, instead of her having tracked the soldier the whole way, you've stopped miles away from him, and then when you've clicked your left click, you've accelerated and then decelerated to the point of where he would be had you pressed left click instantaneously. So it will flick to you, it will fire your projectile, and it will have moved your crosshair directly where that soldier will be when that projectile gets there. That's typically what you can expect from aimbots in this game, okay? Which is what I'm kind of talking about, alright? Listen, these could all be coincidences. They could just be the replay viewer picking out for multiple times in a row. It could be anything, okay? I'm not necessarily saying, oh, she's definitely cheating because she follows these similar characteristics with a piece of software, but there are very rarely any players who will follow certain characteristics with an aimbot, especially multiple times in a single game. unless you're like fucking cracked out of your mind playing like the game of your life or something, you know? That's basically all I wanted to talk about in the Volskaya game, for this end anyway. I wanted to talk about their Hanzo for a minute, because you'll remember if you watched the Cheat Police video of the Hanzo doing the weird shot on the Genji. Okay, now I believe this is the guy who she said plays 3205 in game. That's the sensitivity I play on, so already we can basically call this null. It doesn't matter what sensitivity he plays on, it's meaningless. Who cares? Right, listen. Now, this is probably, I'm gonna be honest, if I were to say someone was cheating in this game after looking over it another time, I would say Hanzo is actually more likely to be cheating than the Zenyatta is, but I still think they're both cheating, okay? So the Hanzo does not look remotely human whatsoever shooting this Genji, okay? It doesn't make sense to move how he moves. So what he does is fires his left click as the Genji's dashing, misses, flicks 90 degrees to his right, melees having expected to, you know, obviously hit him and him be low enough HP for it to kill him. Then he's gonna activate Storm Arrow. He's gonna flick back on the double jumping Genji, and as he's flicking, you'll see he's curving, okay? Which is totally normal. So he's going to flick, realize how much he's moved. He's going to obviously curve over the Genji now because he wants to come back down now that he realizes the Genji's falling. And the super weird part is, instead of, he goes curve, and then he goes straight down vertically, then he goes diagonally down right onto the Genji's face, shoots him and kills him, then diagonally down left back into the same kind of so for example, if you were to like when he flicks over and his mouse curves, if he were to keep going straight down, he would land where his crosshair landed after he shoots him with the Storm Arrow and kills him. Okay, this is not human at all. Keep in mind how quickly this Genji is moving, okay? This happens in the course of a few frames. For you to flick, obviously do your curve so you can get back on the Genji, diagonally down right flick, shoot, and then diagonally down left to land in the same position your crosshair would have been, instantaneously in the matter of a frame or so, is a little bit fucking absurd, okay? And especially since it looks so software and robotic, because when it flicks and it lands on his face, it like snaps to his face, and then he unflicks back off him, okay? Listen, if you want to call this human, you know, go ahead. Is there a chance it is? Of course there's a chance it's human. You never know. Maybe he just had the best shot of his entire life, but to actually consider this shot to be normal or not suspicious is fucking ludicrous. Like, this is not normal behavior at all for a human being. Like, it just doesn't make sense. For you to aim like this is absurd. There's like basically zero purpose in doing this. Just like, it just doesn't make sense to me. You're flicking at him, then you're for some reason magically. No, keep in mind, 8 centimeter 360 is fucking absurd. It's extremely fast. You have to move your mouse 8 centimeters to spin a full 360 degrees. I've played on this sense for years. Shit like this is not only not easy, it's borderline impossible on a sensitivity like this to micro that much that fast. It's not gonna happen, okay? Watch my Kovacs video if you're going to be like, oh, but maybe your aim just sucks on this sensitivity. I don't know, if you think my aim sucks on that sense, you know, whatever. Watch my other videos if you care. I don't. What I'm saying is, if you're on 8 centimeter 360, listen, this would be forgivable if you were on a really slow sensitivity, because these movements are more likely to be more labored on a higher sense, meaning I can see you making the movement more possible. But bro, you're moving like millimeters to do this micro flick, and you're snapping back to where you were in a frame. You're doing like a 1 frame snap onto a moving Genji who's moving so fast, you're not even paying attention to what's going on. Because after you hit him, you fail to track him as he falls. So you're not even paying attention to how he's moving anyway. Unless you've got somehow a faster reaction time than like basically anyone else on this planet, and you're sitting at like 60 milliseconds or something, there's absolutely no way. As soon as the Genji's dead, your tracking becomes terrible. It just doesn't make sense. If you were as good as you are claiming to be and hitting this Genji like this, you would obviously see a little bit more mechanical prowess in his ability to keep track of where the Genji's going in case he missed. But he doesn't. He doesn't give a shit. He knows he's going to hit his shot. So when he hits it, he doesn't care. He doesn't track or anything. He has absolutely no concern at all for where the Genji's going. Like, bro, he's not looking where he was going at all. Okay, sorry, I'm ranting at this because it's bullshit, bro. Like, what am I looking at? And listen, this is super weird, but it's made weirder by some stuff that I was looking up. So, now you're probably wondering why I missed a certain thing that was actually very important that happened on her Twitter, and it's because it connects to something to do with them cheating. Okay, so obviously there's a voice note on her Twitter where it's three people, two of them are arguing, okay? But it's between a person called Dawn, obviously, we know who Dawn is, and I believe their name is Chandra, because it says it in the title, and I'm gonna assume that's what their name is. Obviously, the conversation happens, this guy, the Chandra guy, let's assume that's who he is, we'll just call him Chandra regardless. What happens is Chandra is upset at Dawn because Dawn chose an Overwatch cheat over Senna.
You know what's crazy? Did all of that for an Overwatch cheat. You betrayed your friend for an Overwatch cheat.
Now I'm assuming these guys all queue together a lot, and they're good friends, because otherwise this is a weird conversation. And basically, several times throughout the video, the Chandra person mentions Rick Ross a few times.
Yeah, but you throw all of that away for Rick Ross.
I didn't know what they meant the first time they mentioned this. To me, it was just like, I don't know, they had like a code word for something. But, turns out, Rick Ross is an Overwatch cheat. It's the Overwatch cheat they were talking about. It wasn't super hard to find, but someone I know found it for me and showed it to me. The Rick Ross cheat, whether they configured it to be how it looks now, is unknown to me. Whether they turned on the silent aimbot themselves, or it just naturally comes like that and it's just a super shitty cheat with basically no config, I don't know, because this is all the shit I can find on it. But essentially, it's like your classic run-of-the-mill ESP box glow pattern cheat with an aimbot, and it looks pretty silent. Now, the thing is with Overwatch cheats, I'm actually unaware how silent aimbots work. So typically in games, silent aimbots will aimbot for you, but the aimbot itself won't affect your player model's view for you. So you could be looking straight ahead, there could be someone to your left, you would click, and then the aimbot would snap to them, kill them, and then snap back to where you're aiming. But you wouldn't see that, you would just see you click, and then they would die to your left, but your crosshair wouldn't move for you. Okay? So that's typically how a silent aimbot works. And typically if you're spectating people, you can see the adjustments the aimbot is making, silently obviously, for obviously the person who's cheating, who doesn't see the adjustments. And what's basically happening in this video is he's obviously showing his silent aimbot deleting everything, okay? Now, there's two things that could be happening here. Either the silent aimbot in Overwatch works as though it's silent to everyone, so even if you're shooting, your projectiles or whatever will travel at and hit enemies, but everyone will see you aiming normally for you because they see your silent aimbot too. They see it silent as well. Or it works how most silent cheats work, and for you it's silent, but for everyone else it's very loud, okay? And let's say, for example, since I've never seen a silent aimbot that was silent for everyone in the lobby, because I don't really know how you would even make something like that, let's assume that this Hanzo seems to be using a similar cheat to the one in the video, where he's obviously playing Hanzo. Now, it's easy to compare a legitimate Hanzo to this Hanzo, and obviously the blatantly cheating Hanzo in the Rick Ross video. And the way they play in general is super weird. Like, this Hanzo obviously follows more behaviors with the cheat video. You know, his general crosshair movement and stuff is just super jank. Like, maybe he just has, like, no hands, and maybe he plays with his feet or something, I don't know. Regardless, the shot on the Genji is not only unrealistic to say it's possible because he plays on a fast sensitivity, that's retarded, but it's also not remotely human looking at all. And it wouldn't be weird for you to also admit that it doesn't look human. There is no way you watch this clip happen and go, yeah bro, that's pretty human looking to me, bro. That looks normal. No, it doesn't look normal at all. I'm sorry. You know it doesn't look normal, Senna. And all of your friends know it doesn't look normal. And everyone else who watched the video know it doesn't look normal. It doesn't look normal because it isn't normal. Whether it's not normal because they're cheating, or whether it's not normal because something else is happening, like the replay code fucked up, or the replay viewer is just poor quality, or a million reasons. Maybe he's fucking shaky. There could be so many reasons as to why this would happen. And I'm willing to believe that it was one of the legitimate ones that makes him not a cheater, okay? Because I don't have proof that this guy's cheating. I just see him doing shit that makes him look like a cheater, right? Same with Senna. Senna has super weird moments, basically identical to this one. There's a clip of that I'll show in one of Senna's videos. Now, by the way, you can go to any of Senna's videos and see super weird shit like this. This is extremely common. Not only is it extremely common, she loves to go into so I'm assuming she doesn't record all the time when she plays. So if she gets a nice play, she goes into replay viewer and obviously turns off the bars at the top like Team 1 and Team 2 and then spectates herself as she's doing the clip. So it looks like it's from her perspective, but you can tell that it's from the replay viewer because it says her name above her player border, right? Whether she's trying to hide it on purpose or she just wants the clip to look cleaner, whether the border's on, is not for me to decide. I would assume it's to make the clip look cleaner because I don't know why you'd want all the fucking ugly shit at the top. But Senna does that a lot. And what I'm saying is Senna follows the exact same weird characteristics as this guy does, this Hanzo. And another reason I think this looks super weird is because of a player called MyPoupi. At least that's how I think you say it. I could be saying it totally wrong. MyPoupi is a very open Overwatch cheater. I believe he's French. He cheats all the time. Typically like around Masters, sometimes GM, sometimes in other ranks. But either way, blatantly cheating. And not blatantly cheating in the sense of he uploads clips of him playing. It's like, bro, I'm nuts or something. He records himself literally cheating. Like, you see his ESP, you see his aimbot, you see everything, you see aiming for him. It's blatant, right? Now, look how real this aimbot looks for this guy. Now, we can assume his aim isn't actually this good, and he's aimbotting, okay? Clearly. Why would you be cheating if your aim wasn't actually this good? You wouldn't be, so this is an aimbot, right? But look how real it looks. Look how human it looks. Look how far cheats have come, and look how normal some of these clips look. Now, obviously, sometimes there's the generic janky one where the aimbot assumes the guy's traveling in another direction. Then as soon as it fires the projectile, they move so their crosshair insta-snaps or something weird like that. Like just general kind of weird stuff that you would expect to see with a cheat, okay? Now, my confusion comes from the fact that this guy, when he's playing normally, like just like a normal human, looks basically identical to how Senna plays, okay? Not in terms of playstyle, but in terms of aim. Now, obviously, Poupi is mechanically inferior to Senna. Senna is naturally mechanically good. Okay, you can tell she's practiced, she's controlled. It's genuinely good mechanics. Okay, I just think she has something helping her. Now, look at how Poupi shoots on Widow. Now, look at how Senna shoots on Widow. Okay, they both look totally normal and totally human. But we know for a fact that Poupi's cheating because we can see it, and Senna looks exactly the same. So to assume that someone is human or isn't cheating because it doesn't look like it is retarded. Because we just saw how easy it is to hide them. This guy's blatantly, we can see him cheating, bro, but it looks totally human. It looks totally normal. In fact, in some cases, it looks more normal than what Senna's doing in her clips, which is even weirder because we know for a fact one of them is cheating. Okay? So to go, but like, look, bro, she misses sometimes. She can't be cheating. It's completely backwards. Poupi misses sometimes, bro. He's rage cheating. He doesn't give a fuck. He's just killing everything, okay? Listen, this is what tilts the fuck out of me when people talk about Overwatch cheating. As if they go, wow, okay, bro, it's not insanely obvious. There's no way they're cheating, okay? Now, Senna, maybe you aren't cheating. There's one of two things happening. You're a cheating fuck, and it is what it is, and you're lying, or you're a legitimately hardworking, talented player who's mechanically superior to basically everyone else on the ranked ladder, apart from maybe a few, okay? And I'm totally willing to believe you're a legitimate player, okay? Because aim like yours isn't impossible. It's totally normal. The shit that confuses me is the consistencies and the characteristics and behaviors of software playing for you in similar circumstances, where it's doing the weird shit that no human being is doing. No human being is doing what you do on Zen in some of these circumstances. It just doesn't make sense to do it. It's not human to do it. So there's there's two things going on. Either the replay viewer is fucked and it just makes you look terrible, or you're cheating. Because what else is going on? This is like, if you watch the video and you look at your clips on Zen and the other clips of you that I showed you and the clips of MyPoupi and Rick Ross and your Hanzo player, if you watch them and you legitimately believe they look human or normal in most cases, then I'm sorry, but you have to be bullshitting. This shit is not normal at all. And to think that you would assume that they would be normal is insane to me. Because, bro, look at the Hanzo clip again. That's nuts. That's not normal. I don't care if you think it's normal. This shit's not normal, okay? The shit you do in Zen too in this game, shit's not normal either. And whether it's a replay error or a million other things that could be making you look bad is honestly not up for me to decide, okay? This could be a billion things, right? But for me, having been so experienced with obviously cheating because I played a ton of Counter-Strike, I know how a cheat works, okay? I know how software works. You behave like software, right? Whether you are using software or not is not really for me to decide, okay? Because there's no proof. Unless I see you actually ESPing or actually aimbotting or rage cheating or something like that, there's no way for me to tell. Cheats are far too advanced and it's far too easy to get away with it, okay? So it's unfair for me to go, yeah, that clip looks weird, so therefore she's cheating. What I'm saying is, regardless of your belief system of whether or not Senna and her friends are cheating, is irrelevant, because even if she is cheating or not cheating, she looks identical regardless, okay? That's my issue. She looks the same. And that's the problem. That's why she's called a cheater all the time, is because she's substantially mechanically superior to all of these players who she plays against and deletes them basically every game. But she does it in a way that's not human looking at all. It's typically very software like, which is kind of weird. I don't know if anyone else thinks that that's kind of weird. I think that's kind of weird. Anyway, that's all the clips in the Volskaya game, and some of them from our video, and obviously the Rick Ross cheat, and the voice note that we heard. And shit's super weird. Like, if you wanna say Senna isn't cheating, I will not say that you're wrong, because I have no proof that she is cheating. And no point did I ever watch a single clip and say there's a 100% chance she is cheating. But after having watched all of her clips, after knowing her background, after knowing she has cheated in the past, after knowing she's connected to people who develop cheats, right? After looking at said cheat that was developed, comparing it to her aim and her friend's aim, and it looking basically identical in terms of how silent it is, and then how a silent aimbot would react in a replay viewer, considering it looks identical there is like so many things pointing towards Senna and her friends being cheaters that I would be lacking a backbone or consistency to say that she doesn't look like she's cheating, okay? Senna 100% looks like she's cheating, and I personally think she is cheating, and I think our Hanzo friend is cheating too. Whether she is or not, obviously, again, isn't for me to decide. Whether you think she's legit is up to you. So for me, honestly, I think she's cheating, but I'm willing to call her a legit player due to my lack of evidence and proof of her actually cheating. And I don't want to label her as something she isn't, because it's unfair and it's damaging, okay? I understand how damaging it is to be falsely accused of cheating, okay? It's not like it's something I haven't experienced before, okay? It was very normal back when I played a ton of Face It. It was basically every other game. Kind of like Senna experiences, okay? Which it is what it is. But you would watch my clips, and I wouldn't follow these similar behaviors or similar characteristics. I looked like a human being. Senna and her friends do not. They play like software, bro. And that's where I'm confused. That's why things don't make sense to me. Is because you're a human being consistently playing to the degree of software. That shit's super weird. One thing I find super annoying about the situation, though, is this player and how people treat them. Okay? Right? The amount of times I've seen Senna in games where people are talking like mad shit the whole time, saying some of the most fucking abhorrent things I've ever heard, like fucking saying that they should be part of, like, they should have been part of the Holocaust, calling like fucking slurs and shit. It's super weird. Like, it's like, even if I think Senna's a cheater, Senna's a human being regardless, okay? So people who are bitching and crying and complaining and saying all this fucking horrible shit to her are just as bad, if not worse, if she is cheating, okay? If she's cheating, these people are probably worse than her in terms of being an actual human being, okay? Because it's a fucking game at the end of the day. If she's cheating in a game, who gives a fuck? If she's cheating in a game, it is what it is. It's fucked up, and it's bad, and it sucks, but it's not nearly as bad as some of the shit these people are doing and saying in our games. Shit is super out of whack, okay? It's fucking awful for them to do that, and I'm sorry, and especially because I'm making this video where I'm sitting here calling you a cheater and I'm berating you and your friends, and I know how that feels, bro. It sucks. But what I'm saying is after looking into everything, you don't look human at all. Like, in terms of how a software can look human, that's about as human as you look, which is my problem. Now, maybe you cheat in some clips, maybe you cheat in most clips, maybe you cheat in all your clips, maybe you don't cheat in any of them. I have absolutely no idea, okay? All I said was, you look kind of like you're cheating. I went over everything. I did a bit of research into who you are, who you're connected to, all that shit, and it seems a little bit convenient, okay? Is all I'm saying. That was my investigation of Senna. It was a pretty fun video to make, though it was actually pretty hard work piecing everything together. Especially like editing this shit took forever. I don't typically do this kind of editing style, and you'll see like some parts are a little bit lower effort because I'm not super familiar with how to do them super well, but I tried. And honestly, this video was more about changing up my style a little bit and doing something fun than it was for trying to ruin someone's career, okay? So Senna, I'm sorry. If you're not a cheater, then I'll delete the video, whatever, if you can prove it, obviously, which is actually fairly easy to do, by the way. It's pretty easy to prove you're not cheating, but you refuse to do that. I mean, hand cams don't prove anything, and I think everyone on the planet knows that. Hand cams don't mean shit when you're cheating, like at all. It literally doesn't mean anything at all, okay? Be honest. You know that. You cannot sit there and say that you think hand cams prove anything, because they don't, like at all. Thank you guys for watching. Maybe I'll make more documentary style stuff in the future, but I want to keep an eye on Senna too, because although I think she's a cheater, she might not be, and I could be totally wrong. Therefore, if it does come out that she's 1000% legit, I'm more than willing to retract absolutely everything I said, because that would mean that I was wrong, and it would be wrong for me to be wrong and then not say that I was wrong, okay? But I think, personally, as of everything I've seen, I think I'm right. I think Senna's cheating, and I think our friends are cheating too. But that is a story for another day because there's no proof. So anyway, thank you for watching, guys. Mwah.